What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Guillotine Pod, the Ballsville podcast dedicated to our guillotine leagues and all things guillotine. My name is Slim, aka Sean, aka a team that lost today. Sitting here with my good buddy Connor, aka C-Bomb. How are you, my friend?
What's up? I'm good. Feeling good. Good games
Oh,
tonight.
yeah, right. I mean, I'm super conflicted. I'm feeling great about my Bills victory, the domination station that is Josh Allen rolling through once again with another victory. But then I got to sit here and watch my boy Austin Eckler bring me 0.7 points from victory and then get his helmet taken away because of concussion protocol, and he's out for the rest of the game with a whole quarter and a half left to go. And
Yeah.
sitting here getting kicked in the nuts on one league and having a touchdown over and over again on TV, it was just really hard to deal with, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that was a bad beat for sure.
Yeah, it was a rough one, man. I mean, overall, for as well as my team played on the field, it's about as bad as my teams played on the computer today or this weekend because my fantasy scores were not beautiful. It's like all of them just kind of migrated to like the 3 or 4 teams that dominated, and the rest of them just like laid a big egg.
Yeah, I mean, my teams did pretty well. So I know you draft, running backs first. So we'll see. Maybe that's one reason why.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see because a lot of running backs scored pretty well this week, if I'm not going to lie. There was a specific guy named Kyron Williams, if I'm not mistaken, that played pretty dang well. That was one of my high-end guys that you were laughing at me for drafting on a regular basis.
I like Kyron preseason, but just,
You got scared.
would rather have, Jamar Chase.
I mean, that's been just because Jamar had a good game here this week. So far, Kyron, I think, has been more consistent at minimum. So, speaking of good games, how about we're finally getting some fantasy tight end production, bro? Like, how does that feel to finally have some, points on your fantasy tight end roster for a change?
Well, except they're not on my roster. There's none of these guys are on any of my rosters. I mean, maybe Ferguson a little bit, but Goddard's had a rough couple of weeks. I think he was the highest point scorer in fantasy tight end this week. And then Kmet, you weren't comfortable. You weren't comfortable starting Kmet after his first 2 weeks. So he's probably still on your bench most of the time anyway. And you have Tyler Conklin. I think he was one of the top 5. But besides that, I mean,
yeah, I could see people
nice on your bench.
Goddard. Do you think that just based on what happened this week, let's focus in on Goddard and Kmet really, because those are the two that I think kind of sort of came out of nowhere ish. Nobody really had highest expectations for either of those two guys coming out. So where do you think they sit as far as like a weekly starter moving forward? Do you think this is more of an outlier week, or is this going to be closer to more of a consistent thing for these guys?
Well, AJ Brown's out for, the Eagles. I think that's a big part of why Goddard, saw a lot of targets there. Kmet, I'm still not sure on. He looked good. I mean, Caleb looked better this week than he has. So, but there's still just so many targets in that offense that you're really not comfortable. I mean, obviously if you took him as your starter, I would feel more comfortable than you have been the last 2 weeks, but still not somebody, I'm still playing like Isaiah Likely over him, even though he's had a rough couple of weeks. But I'm definitely more comfortable, but still not a guy that I'm like, wow, I'm so happy I have Cole Kmet on my roster.
Yeah. No, I feel the same way about Kmet. I would lean maybe towards Goddard being somebody that I could consistently play if I don't have, somebody like one of the top 5 guys that I just have to play ahead of him. I could see Goddard sneaking his way into my starting lineup regularly. If there's still going to be issues with AJ Brown and then Devontae getting his concussion, there's a chance that Goddard becomes a lot bigger part of that offense. And I think he's a talented tight end as well. He was a high drafted, high touted guy coming out. It wasn't like he's somebody coming out of nowhere. This guy was expected to become somebody special at some point too. So, I do think he's got the pedigree to get himself there. And I think the offense this year could need him based on the way things are going with that wide receiver room. So
Yeah, for sure.
The other guy that I want to make sure that we talk about, of course, I got to talk about my boy Kincaid getting his first touchdown of the season, sneaking his way up the rankings. I know it's a small step, but it's a step, right? Like we're moving forward. So, I want to say he finished with somewhere over 40 yards or so in the touchdown. So, I like the fact that that touchdown came on a scramble play. That means Josh is looking his way when he's scrambling, and we all know that's when Josh makes his magic happen. So, that's definitely a good sign for him moving forward. So I'm not as concerned about him as I was after the first 2 weeks, seeing a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel here. But it's definitely not something that I'm already like, okay, I'm ready to just jump back in full swing. I need another game of this with maybe a few more targets moving forward. I do think that this game plan got skewed as soon as it became pretty much a blowout game. I think they had the intention of getting Kincaid more involved, and you could tell by the way that they threw him a couple passes early in the game. So,
yeah, that's for sure. And then, I mean, still it worries me is that Knotts is still, it looks like running some routes. I wasn't sure he was going to run some routes, this year, but he's still running some routes taken away from Kincaid a little bit. I think that probably changes as the season goes on. More so, he'll probably be a blocking tight end. But how panicked are you on your Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce? Two of the top 4, top 5 tight ends taken off the board, and I think they had
a lot more panicked about Mark Andrews than I am about Travis Kelce.
I am the same. I just sold Mark Andrews for very, very cheap. I think he ran 4 total routes this weekend, and so it was like somebody that I was like, I mean, decently high on. I think he was probably a consensus top 5 redraft tight end this year, and he's produced maybe 5 points total in fantasy. So 2 weeks of absolute zeros. So
it's been rough, man. It's been rough, dude. Like Mark Andrews, I'd say is the one that I'm concerned the most about. Just one with the emergence of Isaiah Likely. And the fact that they're getting their butts kicked out there, it feels like this team. Yeah. So, I mean, they played well, against Dallas, but Dallas came back towards the end of that game, so it's not like they just out there like moving and shaking like crazy. So I'm a little more concerned about Baltimore in the long term, especially because, as bad as the Bengals started this game, I think they kind of got into a flow a little bit as time went on in that game. And I do think that that's a good sign for them moving forward as far as just being competitive in their division, right? Because their division hasn't started out the way anybody anticipated. So, you wouldn't consider them out of the running at this point. So I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on that moving forward. I haven't watched them. Speaking of which, isn't there correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there a Hard Knocks going on for all of those teams in that division currently? Right now,
I don't know much about that. I know they're talking about an in season one with some teams, but I don't know who it is.
I thought it was that full. I'll have to look that up. We'll stay tuned in week 4, guys, and we'll go over that in week 4 to figure out if that's actually happening right now. Because I'm pretty sure that it is, and I heard something about it being that entire division, going on. So that would be something I'd be a little more interested in watching than. The Bears, for example. I don't think I watched maybe a half an episode of that one and kind of moved on. So, there wasn't much of that kind of drew me into it. So moving on, though, that's totally off topic. So the other thing I want to make sure we talk about is the fact that we finally got some quarterbacks that scored like we anticipated, right? We were all drafting quarterbacks because quarterbacks have been the number 1 scoring position in fantasy for a while now since we've been this complete air show of an NFL. So, all of a sudden, the first 2 weeks of this season, we get literally like goose eggs and running backs running like crazy. It's like we just took a time portal back to the 50s and everybody's just running the ball and only throwing if they have to. And it was just unbelievable. So much low scoring. And then we finally had, I think, 7 guys get over 30-plus points this week. So, how do you feel about that in general? You think that that's kind of that the first couple of weeks feel like more of an outlier than moving forward kind of type of season that we're going to have, or do you think that this maybe becomes more the outlier and we're going to continue to see more of a ground and pound NFL for this year?
I mean, this was just the week over. I feel like the week in general was like high scoring fantasy that you're finally excited to see some scores on your roster. I think you can tell by even our guillotine leads, like even the low scoring players on there are, they have 70 points. In the past, they've had 30 to 50. total points. And so, I mean, just the quarterbacks stepped it up. I felt like the defensive took a step back, or maybe just the offensive finally got into groove. The Bengals, I mean, that game almost had no defense at all. I think there's no punts, no turnovers in that game. So it was pure scoring. The Jags
going to get good fantasy points out of both of those offenses all season.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like you said, I think 7 quarterbacks scored 30, and I think Joe Burrow and Daniels were 2 of them, and then Josh Allen obviously was another one. So
yeah, I mean, 3 of the 7 on Monday night.
Yeah, exactly. Just tonight, it was crazy high scoring players. Jamar Chase, who else?
Terry
McLaurin. I mean, Kincaid. I mean, for a tight end, he was tight end 5. So,
yep. James Cook had another good night.
Yeah, he dropped a touchdown. I'm kind of upset about, but
he did. Yep, and you notice he got sat for the whole rest of the half for that too.
Yeah,
didn't play the whole rest of the half on that one, and I thought he was going to end up sitting again, but the coach finally pulled his head out of his you-know-what and put him back in. It's one of the things that drives me nuts. If you're a coach out there and you're coaching, do not pull your player out of a game because he makes a mistake. That is, like, in my opinion, the worst thing you can do to a player's psyche is pull them out of a game and not give them a chance to redeem themselves. Because all they do is sit on the sideline thinking about that play.
You think they pull him in a close game, though? I doubt it. You know?
They did it. They've done it before. They did it to him, like, was it a couple seasons ago in a playoff game, or maybe even last season in one of the playoff games? He sat for like a whole quarter and a half or something. It was ridiculous. People were just talking mess about it for months.
Ty Johnson ended up catching him a touchdown, so
that he did, and he's a potential guy that you should keep an eye on because it looks like he is the number 2 back in that offense ahead of Ray Davis. So if something were to happen, I'm not saying that, he would become like a bell cow or anything, but if something were to happen, I think he's going to get the majority of a timeshare between him and Ray. So he might be somebody worth at least rostering in a deep league.
I think you were on the Ray Davis bell cow territory.
I was. Like, he was looking really good. I mean, he's still a rookie. I'm not saying that the kid's washed or anything. He's still a rookie, but he's shown some promise. I mean, he played well too. I think he got a touchdown as well, if I'm not mistaken. So it might have been
a rushing touchdown. I think he had a rushing touchdown in garbage time.
He did. But you notice after James dropped that pass, the next play they put Ray in and they threw a pass right to Ray.
Yeah.
So I mean, they obviously have faith in the kid to get him out there right after your starter drops a pass. So I mean, I'm not trying to say he's going to be super relevant this year, but if you got him in a dynasty league, you might keep on your taxi squad for the season, but I'd be happy to have him moving forward.
What about another running back that's looking like he's going to lose some carries that Trevor was big on? Rachaad White looks like he might be taking a back seat to Bucky Irving.
Right? Yeah, that's 100% true. And, and Bucky's not looking like he's, too shabby or anything out there either. He's looking like he's a little bit more spry than White, and he might easily, move forward by midseason and have that job. And that's also something I feel like somebody else was talking a lot about in the preseason, about how overdrafted he was and how he was ranked way too high. Can't remember who it was.
Quite a few people talking about that, honestly. Trevor said he has 0 shares in redraft. I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, if he doesn't, it's because other people took him ahead of him, and that's it. Otherwise, he was all over it. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, man. So, all right, let's move on to the slash and dash guillotine leagues. And let's figure out where we're at after the week. So we're going to start out here. We're going to go right on in to Sleepy Hollow. And this is one of our $25 leagues, guys. So this is the first of our $25 leagues. And here you're going to see we've got 142.46. We decided last week, I got to tell you this before we get going into this. We thought about this last week and we felt really bad. We're sitting here, we're talking about the team that gets their butt kicked the whole time, but we're not saying anything about the team that's killing it, right? So we thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and highlight your best team of the week before you go in and just bash the bad teams, right? Like, so let's go in and talk about the team K Doggy Dog got 142.46. And so you guys know on our lineups, this is a good score for the amount of players that we have starting. So as you can see here, we only got 2 running backs, 2 receivers, a tight end, a flex, and a quarterback. That's your whole starting lineup. So, you know, 146 and with that amount of players, his starting lineup is pretty dang solid. As you can see, he's got 3 players that scored over 30 points for him. I mean, that's pretty epic right there. You know you're in good shape if your guillotine team scores 32 points or 30 points from 3 different players. So I just got to say he's got a pretty solid squad here. He's obviously safe to move forward, and you know, great job this week, my friend. And so,
yeah, for sure. Do you want to go over? You want to go over the bids from last week, and so we can see these
yeah.
guys, like, because I know
absolutely.
the guy you just looked at has a couple
going.
of these players. So
It's right where we're going. So based on what he's talking about, so you can see right here, he actually bought Chris Olave last week for $78, right? Which that turned out to be a great buy based on what he did for him. So you can see that the next closest bid was our friend Connor at $39. Connor, what are you thinking? Only bidding $39 on Olave? Come on.
Yeah, I was second. That's all I can say. You know, all it takes is K-Dog to go to sleep one night and forget to put his bid in, and I got Chris Olave for $39. You know.
Yeah. I know what you mean, though. It does suck when you're like, you think you're about to get a good deal, and then the one guy swoops in there and snags him ahead of you, you know?
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, like I said, like, it only takes one time. You never know what you're gonna get. I don't really need receivers in that league, so but obviously getting an upgrade to Olave would be nice, but not something I'm looking to overpay for this early in the offseason when that's not a position I need.
Yeah, I know you guys can't really see it, but right underneath my little eyeball here is a $78 bid by Connor or by K Doggy Dog, just above C-Bomb's bid of $39 right here. So and it's hard for you guys to see, but it's there. So that's what happened with Olave. As you can tell, though, I mean, you have no idea what these other people are bidding. So this guy wanted Olave. He really felt like it was a good player to get. So he bid accordingly in his mind with $78, thinking he's going to be, hopefully just ahead of the next guys. And then lo and behold, he could have saved himself like 30 something dollars by bidding, $40 and stay just ahead of him. So, that's but he didn't know that. And he ends up bidding 78. He got his guy, but, it might hurt him down the road depending on how things go. So we'll see. But it was still a great move, and it got him the highest scoring for this week. So good for you, brother. Next guy that we had next highest bid was Justin Herbert. Oh, he got a $69 bid. So what do you think about Justin Herbert going for 69 before we get into the bidding?
Well, it doesn't look too great now, but I mean, what was this, a 20-man league, 18-man league? I mean, there might have been hurting at quarterback. They might have lost, a couple of other guys early. So I don't mind it, but obviously it looks bad now. But I mean, he barely beat the next guy. I think the next guy was at 57. So there was still quite a few higher bids. And if you needed a quarterback, you got to get your guys. Especially, you never know who's going to be on the waiver wire. Like, I mean, there's Bryce Young down there that got dropped. So,
Yeah. Well, that was also during these bids, so that wouldn't have been available to him to pick up.
Exactly. You never know who's going to be there. So
yeah. I mean, you can see I tried to sneak in a little $11 bid because that's all I felt like I was going to spend on him. But so that's where we're at with Justin Herbert. Next guy that went was Rico Dowdle for $49, and that was the only bid.
Yeah, I felt like that when I first looked at that, I was kind of surprised, especially not like I said. I mean, Rachaad White's not doing so hot, but I mean, he obviously was the next best back besides Christian McCaffrey, which we don't even know if he's going to play this year.
But that to me, I mean, that's still shocking. $49 for that. I mean, I know even if you need a back, man, I mean, Rico, you don't need to spend that much to get Rico.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I understand short stack, he didn't know what was going on yet with the other things. A lot of these guys too, it's their first time in this too. So you don't know what you're doing until you kind of have like a good 5-6 weeks under your belt as far as what to bid and what not to bid with the way that the averages are going for these guys. So, it's hard to know. And he kind of ended up in a situation where he just, found out later on that it was just the wrong decision. Yeah. So next bid, and even less money, your boy Rachaad White, $44 to you After all that mess you were just talking about Rashid
This was
White.
before this week, but I mean, I'm hurting at running back in this league. Like I said earlier, not even that bad now. I mean, I think my team did pretty well, but I needed something just in case, one of my guys, drops out or whatever. And I had Bryce Young there. That's not a starting quarterback, so I pulled the trigger, hoping if I had to play him, he'll be at least a reliable play.
Yeah, Cheeky, you're right, brother. I'm sorry, man. This is the league you're getting chopped in, but I don't know if you could tell, but coming up here pretty soon, I'll be joining there with you. I had a bad week myself, so we're both in the same boat today, my friend, paddling up that shit stream. So let's move on from before we do that real quick, let's double check what Rashid White went for behind you. So $36 was the next closest bid. So I mean, I guess you only overbid by a little bit if you can get any solace.
I don't think that's an overbid at all. I mean, I can't see what the next person's bidding, so $8 difference is not a crazy difference.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you ended up with a bad player, but hey, at least you didn't overpay. All right, moving on. The next man up, the guy that would have gone for over 100 easily had he not been hurt, CMC, the biggest disappointment in fantasy, went for $41. So, and only 3 bids on this man too, by the way, guys. $41 and only 3 bids. He had one for 33 and one for 12, and then that was it, other than the $41 bid. So that tells you where everybody's at right now with CMC, man. Are you as concerned as the bids show him out to be as far as his redraft value this season?
Even
guillotine value, because week to week in guillotine, it's even harder.
Yeah, the news that came out today was very concerning. It's like Peyton Manning back in 2012 or something, when he had to go overseas to get his neck looked at, and he was supposed to play that season. Like, they were talking all through the preseason, like, hey, he's going to play. He'll be fine. It was like, oh, no, he'll be out the first 2 weeks. He'll be out the first 3 weeks. Then it's like, oh, he'll be back, before midseason. And then it was the whole season thing. It was like multiple surgeries. And this is just, I mean, he has to go to Germany to see a specialist. That's just very concerning to me, especially for a guillotine league. Like you said, you have to be very cautious week to week. So somebody I was not looking to bid on, especially, definitely not.
Yeah, it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one because the moment that he steps back on that field, he's an instant starter for you. So
if he does, though, that's what I'm saying. Like,
it's just so hard to do that, So Trevor's saying that the rumor is stem cell treatments that they won't do here in the States, which that's a whole different argument that we shouldn't be getting into because we're not a political pod. Yeah. But that's definitely potential there, because I could see that being the case of why he had to leave the country. So, and that would be a better sign than any other reason I could see why he would need to leave the country. So that we'll see how it goes. But yeah, anything Achilles is scary, and the fact that it started out as a calf and then melded its way into an Achilles, like all of that just kind of smells fishy to me. So I'd have been shying away as well, which obviously you can tell I did. Didn't even put it in a bid. So
same.
And then the same thing. Yeah, I mean, it's the same exact scenario, went for the same price, same amount of bids. Let's see if it was the same 3 guys. How funny would that be?
I think it is, right? Almost.
I think it is. It is that I want to say.
Yep. Same orders.
So, hey, they were willing to put their money where their mouth was, right? I mean, good for them if they got the conviction to go for it. Yep. But yeah, I mean, he got 2 guys that neither of them are going to play for him in the next 2 weeks minimum, because they're on IR, both of them during those 2 weeks. So he paid $82 total out of his $200 fob for 2 guys that he's for sure not getting for at least 2 weeks, most likely longer, because we know one guy's cup is going to be out 5 weeks, I think, right? 6 weeks, something like that.
At least. I mean, you never know.
Eligible to come back for 2 weeks. So
yeah, it could work out for him though if he's able to survive and he gets these players that would go for a lot more down the road. But you have to survive regardless. And I don't know if personally I'm not comfortable with giving away my money to somebody that I know is not going to help my roster for a couple of weeks. But
especially with the amount of injuries that have occurred already this year, like I want to have people on my depth that are like able to jump in there if I need them, like right now. So
Yeah,
that one's a scary scenario.
and there's not a big IR selection here either. So you have two spots, I think, and
Hmm.
they can't be out. They have to be on IR, which obviously Cup and McCaffrey are. But now if you have another guy go on IR, you're either gonna have to drop him or you're gonna have to,
Or
just
you're
hold.
losing one of your very
Yeah,
valuable depth spots,
exactly,
bench spots on these leagues because you don't have a deep bench. So
exactly.
you, like you said, it's definitely a risky business. So yeah, we're looking at next guy to go off the board was Jalen Waddle at $38. You guys seeing a theme this week? All of these guys that would have gone for over 50, 70, maybe 100 are all under $50 this week because of injuries, man. It's been a consistent thing all season so far, and we're only in week 3. It's unbelievable. So Waddle's injury is not his own. It's based on his quarterback, of course. But what do you think about Waddle going for $38?
I
I
was
do feel like that's a slight underbid, to be honest. You got a kind of a good deal on him, bro. I really
That's
do.
my exact thought as well. And we'll see in the other league, Waddle was another guy because of Tua's injury that was dropped. I think in all three of the leads, maybe just two, at least two of the leads, and he went for almost double that. And
Yeah.
I mean, I put in a bid just like I did for Olave, just not a receiver I really don't need, but like something like, especially if people fall asleep, which they did. I'm able to pick them up for a good price, I feel like. And so,
Trevor's made a good point, man. Bye week's coming soon
yeah,
too, man. These, especially the whole thing we just talked about with those injury scenarios, man. Like bye weeks are going to be starting to really cause problems.
yeah.
So yeah, but I think you did get a good deal on Waddle. I mean, especially because it seemed like they targeted him a bit more than I anticipated.
They
Last
use him a lot
so,
short game. Like I said, that's what I
yeah,
thought, and that's one reason I wasn't too low on Waddle compared to Hill. I think Hill took a massive dip compared to his production with Tua, but
yeah,
Waddle's looked very similar. Lots of screens, lots of jet sweeps, stuff like that. Motion out of the backfield, which is what his skill set's for, and they used it. I mean, I don't think he scored a lot of fantasy points this week, but maybe Tyler Huntley with it in there. Snoop Huntley, I think he changed his name. So hopefully he
mhm.
gets in there and passes it a little bit more. So
Yeah. I mean, it'll be one of those things that happen. And I think I would not be surprised if Miami doesn't make some sort of a move at quarterback, though. To be
yeah,
honest with you, I don't think that they're done. I think there's going to be something that happens. If it's not like trading for somebody's top backup guy or something like that, or pulling somebody out of retirement, you know what I mean? Like anything like that, I could see him throwing like a late round pick for Flacco or something.
yeah,
Like any kind of a move like that. I wouldn't be surprised at all because I don't think they're going to go through the season the way that they're headed because it looks like they're about to turn into the league's biggest tire fire this year if they don't do something. So
yeah.
it's
Maybe
going
not
to
the
be.
league's biggest. I mean, there's quite a few out there right now. So
I don't know. I mean, one we thought was going to be the league's biggest turned around and just beat the crap out of the Raiders. So we can't really
yeah,
think too far in advance, right?
yeah. I'm sure
But
JoJo's not happy about that.
right. So moving on to the next guy off the board, which in my opinion, it's definitely the steal of the week
Yep.
because this man scored more points than dollars that he went for. So you got Dallas Goddard going for $23, single bid, only person that bid. He could have got him for free if he wanted to, and it would have been a massive steal. But even at $23 for the week that he had, I mean, in Dynasty, if you tell me, or in Guillotine, if you tell me, hey, you're definitely going to survive this week, if you give me $23 in FOB right now, I will hand you $23 in FOB and be happy as a pig and you know what. So I am definitely okay with the $23 in FOB to get Goddard, even if it's only this week that he makes a difference. What do you
Yep.
think?
Yeah, I think that's perfect. Great pickup. I mean, obviously it was an overbid because nobody else bid on him, but I mean, it was a smart one. I
I
mean,
don't think it's an overbid if like
yeah,
anybody else was paying that much of attention to what was going
yeah,
on in Philly with AJ Brown being out and all that.
yeah, I agree. I'm just saying, like, he could have got him for $1, which you never know. It's not something you can
Yeah.
tell. You
Yeah,
can
he
tell.
didn't throw that bid out there like saying I have to get this guy.
Yeah,
That's a decent bid just for a
yeah,
guy that you feel like you want to get.
yeah. I
I
mean,
like it.
I think it played out perfectly for that guy. I mean, for
Yeah.
this week, we'll see. We'll see what it
Yeah.
does for the
Although
future. But
I might have spoke a little too soon here. We'll talk about that in just a second as far as the
yeah,
steal of the week, but we'll get there in a minute. So another guy that I thought was another steal of a deal was $13 for Quentin Johnston. I thought, the way that things were going with him, granted, this was prior to Herbert's injury. Now with what's going on with Herbert, we don't know what's going to happen. moving forward with him. But I think QJ is getting targets. I think QJ is the guy that in that offense, him and McConkey are kind of the two that are like the cream rising to the top. I think Joshua Palmer's kind of settled in behind those guys. So I definitely feel like QJ for $13 is a solid guy to have on your team.
I'll disagree with you there.
Of course you will, because you hate QJ. You don't want me to be right about him since I've been hyping him all year.
Yeah, his one touchdown, he was wide open. It was like a defensive breakdown. It's not like he did much spectacular. I think he only had 2 catches or something, maybe 3 catches. And he maybe stalled one more target than that.
I think for $13, you can give me QJ on my bench all day long.
We'll see. Isn't this the guy that got eliminated? So maybe we should not be talking about QJ here. You're going to be bidding on this.
Eliminated. So now you guys all know what's going to happen for QJ moving forward.
Yeah, I'm going to bid mine.
This was all prior to Burrow getting hurt. So he might even go for less now that Burrow is not throwing him the ball.
Herbert, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Herbert. Thank you. So Chuba Hubbard was the next guy off the board, which is the one that I consider probably to be the steal of the day just because of the $6 that he got.
Although he did drop Tyler Conklin, which went off. So
right, I mean, but still though, I mean, depends on if I guess he needed it or not. It is Scott. So
Scott, I thought you were big on him. Come on, I needed Chuba. The reason I didn't get Chuba is because I got White, who I didn't think I'd get for $44, but
and that didn't work out for you. How you would have rather had the $9 Chuba for
I would have. That is 100% correct. 100%
I love it. Oh, it's so great, man. That's the way the cookie crumbles, though, right, man?
Yeah, I got White and Waddle that I wasn't expecting to get, and so I don't want to drop any of my deeper roster spots, and so you have to drop the same guy multiple times, basically, and so that's how it fell out. But it worked out. I wasn't eliminated. We'll see how it works out.
Oh man! And then we got the next 2 pickups that we had. We had Carson Steele went for $6, same as Chuba. He got 3 bids also. TC Show couldn't get him because of his roster scenario. Same thing with what happened with you on the last guy, and Mean Machine threw $1 at him, but he didn't get for $1. Jalen Naylor went for $3 as well, which I don't even know if Naylor was on the team. I think Naylor was just a bench free agent pickup that happened to stream at the same time. I don't believe he came.
Yeah, and he caught a touchdown pass this week too, so it wasn't. I mean,
it's a good pickup. Good pickup for him. So that's out, and then so that basically settles out the pickups for this week, right? And then as you roll into the week played out, as you can see, there was one team that had a rough time, and that was our buddy Cheeky Hobson. I know you were here earlier. If you're still here, my friend, I'm sorry, brother. It's a rough week, man. I feel your pain.
And as the weeks go on, you'll notice a trend. Like the teams that get eliminated are getting better and better. So, I mean, this guy had Achane who went off the previous week. He had Hurts that, you usually can count on him. I'm sure Hurts was his first pick, if not his second. So
yeah, and Hurts had one of those weird games where he threw for over 300 yards, but just didn't get in the end zone much.
They couldn't capitalize on any of their opportunities. Shaquan was the one that finally broke free for like a 75-yard touchdown. So
yeah, I mean the 300 yards is nice, but the pick and the fumble loss is what basically dropped him down to almost under double digits. So, and then like you said, Achane didn't go close to what he should have done for him. He just had one of those weeks that. Every one of his guys, he really didn't have a whole lot of depth beyond those guys. But when your top guys don't perform for you, that's kind of all it takes sometimes in these leagues, man. Because, you're counting on at that point one of your like lower level players to have a week that you just don't expect from them. And, that doesn't always happen. So, that's basically the same thing that happened to him. So moving forward, like you said, now next week, we're going to look at guys like Jalen Hurts, Achane, Eckler, Polk, McConkey, Gesicki, Williams, and then on his bench he's got Caleb Williams, who showed up pretty decent. Would have been nice to have him in the team. Probably would have actually saved him this week.
Dunze, another guy you really didn't know if you could count on this week, just because.
We've got the same situation again with AJ coming into another week at least off, going on into next week. So what amount does AJ go for now? So
and this is another thing we've touched on a little bit is stacking and guillotines. So you see the Hurts AJ Brown stack.
Mm-hmm.
AJ Brown goes down. Hurts production takes a little bit of a dip. His red zone target's not there. Really can't throw fade balls or freeze up Devontae or whatever. And so they're doubling Devontae. And so you see his production go down a little bit, and you're also taking the production dip of AJ Brown out of your lineup. And so another reason why I don't think stacking works in guillotine all that well, although, your top stacks are usually going to help out, but it's just not something you should be targeting, especially early in your drafts.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that one, man. And I think that we actually discussed that during the draft. That he actually did stack 2 stacks. He had AJ and Hurts, and then he also had Williams and Odunze. So it's I know stacking is an awesome thing to do in like a redraft scenario and stuff like that, and it's hard to kind of shift your mindset away from it when you're drafted in guillotine, but.
Yeah, stacking is usually optimized for best ball because you put all your efforts into one offense, and so you're betting on one offense, and if that offense goes off, you're good, and it's best ball. So if it doesn't, then you're covered usually, and so that's why optimizing for stacking and best ball is usually smart. But guillotine, as we've seen, I think multiple weeks now where stacking just doesn't work.
Yeah, it'll work if you hit a hot team. Yeah. If you get that hot team that's just out there scoring, like how the Dolphins were last year for the first 6 weeks. If you had a stack of like Tyreek Hill and Tua last year, you were probably fine.
Until that bye week hit,
Yeah, until that bye week hit. But by then you're hoping that you have the opportunity to build your bench enough to cover yourself, right? So I don't mind it if you're hitting the right team, but the odds of that are so difficult, man. Like you never 100% know whether that offense is going to be good that year or not. It's always the NFL's so different every year. So it's hard to count on both a quarterback and a receiver or a quarterback and a tight end on the same team, not 100% knowing that they're going to score like that. So, it's tough, man. It's tough. And in this scenario, it came back to just haunt him at the worst week.
Yeah. So, and it's not a bad roster by any means. His draft he probably was happy with AJ Brown and Hurts and Achane and
he had coverage on him. It wasn't like he had no depth at the time, and he got hit with that injury at the wrong time, and it, like you said, it not only killed his receiver, but it hurt his quarterback so much that it made for a bad week. So, all right, man. All right, Cheeky. I'm sorry, man. Hope you stick around and at least pay attention to the rest of the league. It's a lot of fun, and you can learn a lot from just watching how the bids go down week to week, especially as we get closer to the end of the year, and then you got to see like valuable players getting dropped for players getting picked up because benches are so deep. So it's going to be an interesting scenario. I hope you pay attention to it. Yeah. All right, man. So that was our League One right there, man. What do you think of that, dude? Like, do you think that league turned out kind of around where I expected as far as like the overall points for the league? I think the average was around like 90 something. So you'll notice that it's going to kind of rise up week to week, probably like an average 5 to 10 points a week as people's rosters get better and better.
I think that might be the lowest scoring one, if I'm not one of the two that is the lowest scoring rosters. But the things I'm surprised I'm not seeing or didn't see in that one is Mark Andrews, who was a top pick for tight end, scored 0 points. And then Ramondre Stevenson, which was another guy that people were counting on. That scored less than a point. And so I was surprised I didn't see those guys on that roster. I don't know if we'll see them on either of these other teams' rosters, but very surprised I didn't see them on that roster.
Yeah. No, it was definitely one of those weeks where you thought those couple of guys were going to be for sure available to you, and they just weren't. Not to say they weren't going to be available in these next leagues, but they very well could be. So moving right on into the next one, then let's go ahead and jump into our second league here. This is our second league of the $25 leagues, our 18 heads in a duffel bag, my favorite league name. So in this league, we actually had a overall average, a higher score average on this league. Our guy who lost this league actually lost with a higher score than any of the leagues in all 3 of them. So it was definitely a rough loss for him. He would have been fine if he was just not in this one. So, but we'll start with our top scorer, and then we'll roll into our fab bids. So it looks like our top scorer on this league was you, my friend. I believe you are the top guy with your 142.54 in this league.
Yeah, this is my favorite team. I punted QB position, and it turned out pretty well because I got Aaron Rodgers that went off this week, and then got my favorite guys to draft, Jamar Chase and Kamara, and so it turned out pretty well. You never know. I got Laporta that's, questionable moving forward, Cooper that's questionable moving forward. And so you never know week to week. But this week I was very, very happy with the way that they performed on the field.
Yeah. Well, I like Jaden Reed. I think he's with Love coming back. I think he'll be involved in that offense. So he'll be a good guy that you can fill in with, and you do have some good depth there, and you'll have some guys available off of the team that's going to get cut this week so that you can start to buy some players. Do you remember how much FOB you have left in that league?
Yeah, I think I only bought Raheem Mostert. I think I bought him for $20, $28 or something like that. So I have a majority, like 170 or so, 180 or so FOB. So I have quite a bit. But you never know what these guys are going for. And so hopefully I'm able to get me a guy, but you never know. I don't want to overbid either. So
Cheeky's in the other league. So that's awesome, my friend. You'll be able to survive in that one, hopefully for a good long while.
Yeah, he's in this one right here that we're looking at. He scored 130 points, so I'm sure.
Yes. There you go.
Nice he had a good week here, so he'll be fine.
Yeah, right. As long as you survive in one, right? I still got two left too, so I'm clinging on to those two leagues now.
Yeah.
So going into the bidding for this week, we had Garrett Wilson was our top guy available. And I know we talked about him last week on what we thought he would go for. So I think this is right about where we anticipated, right? Somewhere between the 80 to 100 range. So that's
about right where I would pin him at. I think I don't remember if I bid that. I think I probably bid a little bit less than that just because.
Yeah, you bid the old 69er.
Yes, sir. And I mean, like I said, most of my teams, you're going to notice a trend. Most of my teams, I'm going to be heavy at wide receiver already. And so I'm not trying to bid on these receivers that early until we move up, until we need another roster spot,
Yeah. And then you got the next closest bid was $97. So Doggy Dog, if you wanted him, he did the exact right bid to get him because $5 is definitely around what you're shooting for.
Yeah.
So and there was quite a good amount of bids on there, and they all kind of ranged right about the same gap. So it really was kind of anticipated.
Another thing with this league we're noticing just a little bit, just getting a little ahead of myself, but there's not as many players that were bid on as the other leagues. As you saw, it was like a long list of players that were up there.
Yeah, I think that stems from his roster too. I don't believe that the roster that was available was nearly as good as the one that we had last week in the other league. So the next guy that went was Ken Walker for $68. So that was at the time. I do believe that he was still questionable.
Yeah, he was up in the air. Yeah,
that he was actually out of the game yet. So I can understand why he would go for that. I actually think that that's kind of a solid price to get him at is $68 because I think he's a solid back to have. So I don't hate that bid in general. The next closest bid was 48, so it does stink to see that there's a $20 difference, but I still don't think you overpaid for him, so it's not a horrible deal.
And you never know if he's not questionable what he goes for. Like my bid could be twice, another $20 higher, and he plays and it looks great, but if he doesn't play, it looks a little worse. But you never know. He might be. He's probably going to be a bell cow moving forward anyway. Zach Charbonnet looked great, which doesn't really help that much, But
yeah, that's scary because I'm hoping that doesn't mean a timeshare is coming, but you never know. I mean, they're already not much of a run happy offense now, so we'll see how it goes forward. But I do like Walker as far as his talent, and I think that he's the type of guy that I would definitely be willing to pay that much for.
Yeah, I agree.
So Jalen Waddle is here at $67 is the next guy. So the difference between what he went for in this league and the other league is drastic.
Yeah, $30, almost double $30 difference.
Yeah. And let's look at our next closest bid was 41, which
and I bid even more in this league and didn't get him. You never know.
Yeah, so that's a pretty hefty difference there. Again, that might have been because he has more faith in what the offense is going to do now without Tua, but To me, that's a risky business to spend $67 on. So I'd be much more keen to do it on Walker than I would on Waddle.
And then we move into the worst bid of the week, which sucks, but
yeah, this $51 for Mark Andrews. I mean, I understand why you bid on him. We still have faith, but I mean, gosh, he's just not showing up right now, and I don't know if it's gonna turn around for him. I really don't.
This was a double sucker punch on B. Bennett, because if he doesn't make this move, he most likely doesn't get eliminated, because he's the one that gets eliminated. He's the one that gets eliminated. He plugs Mark Andrews into the lineup that he probably wasn't going to,
put he would have had a different player at minimum who would have got more than 0. Hopefully,
and I think he gets eliminated by less than 2 points, and Mark Andrews scored 0.
It's brutal. That's brutal. And to spend $50 in your fob to get the guy that costs you the week.
Yeah.
The next closest guy was Chiefs Life here at 76.98. So he was like 1 touchdown away.
Scroll down just a little bit. I think there's one slightly less than that, or maybe he scored more. Maybe he had Jaden Daniels and he scored a little bit more.
No, there isn't.
70. Yeah. I think Zubikis had Jaden Daniels and he was sweating it out until like the last 2 touchdown passes. So
that could be. Poor Zubes, he's been sweating it out a lot lately.
Yeah.
So next guy to go after Andrews was Carson Steele, who went for a whopping 23. So I mean, there was definitely people spending money, even though there was less guys. There was more money spent per guy in this league. So there was 2 bids on him. K Doggy also bid 23.
Wow.
So that's crazy for that to happen.
And that hurts too, because
yeah,
did the guy you want or whatever. I mean, I'm not a big Steele fan in the first place. So I don't think he's worth 23 fob in my opinion, but a guy you want, you bid the amount you should, and then you just did it a little late. I think it probably goes, the tiebreaker goes to whoever put the bid in first, I'm assuming.
I would venture to say it's based on points for highest. Whoever's highest points for is behind the guy. Yeah, whoever's lowest on their overall.
I would assume. I don't know.
We'll look into that one. I
would assume it has to be the first person that bid. Like you would, as soon as you put the bid in, I think that
I don't know. That wouldn't make sense to me as far as fab bidding is concerned. But we'll have to see. There might be some other waiver situation available. Trevor, let us know. You're in the chat. Give us a heads up. So next guy to go was Derek Carr for $21, which that felt great when you got him, and then kind of hurt after you watched him play.
Yeah. It finally fell back down to earth.
Next close bid was 17, so it's not like you overpaid for him. I guess that's your solace.
You dropped Deshaun Watson, which, I mean, not like you dropped a star or anything.
Yeah, it just sucks to drop one pile of poo for another pile of poo and pay money for it.
So did K-Dog win the steal one, or did he lose the steal one?
No, he lost the steal one.
Okay, so he lost the steal one, but he actually got the better back, in my opinion, for less money for Porine down here. So
yeah, for 13.
So I mean, at least he didn't win them both. Maybe he would have been mad if he won them both.
Right. Let's see what the other guy who bid on him was. It was you.
Yeah.
$9.
Like I said, the better back.
All right.
Not the better back. Don't
the steal of the bids right here, everybody. The steal of the bids. Christian Watson for $11 going to yours truly, Skalem.
Yeah, whatever.
With 3 bids on board, $3, $7, and then I got him for $11.
Don't quote me on the steal or Perine's the better back. He's the better fantasy back. Okay, Steele is by far the better actual, football player, but
it's only the passes. Here's the steal of the pickups right here.
Oh yeah, for sure. Good
$3
job,
for Juwan Jennings, which more to come on that one, guys.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah, Jalen Wright went for $3. Tutu Atwell went for $3, which that paid off. Tyler Algier went for 2, and Njoku went for 1. And he dropped Colby Parkinson to pick up Njoku, which that did not work out well for him this week, right?
Yeah, but I'm assuming that he has another tight end that's in front of him.
Hopefully, right?
Njoku is probably a better play long term, but
right. So speaking of Juwan Jennings, we're going to scroll back up here because we had our first in-season trade in this league, and it's going to be a little ways up here on this thing. Did you happen to see this go down at all, bro? Did you see the trade, Connor, when it happened?
Yeah, I think it was a little while, like a week or so ago or something like that. Was it in this league or was it in the other league?
Oh, it might have been in the other league. So
Yeah.
Jawan Jennings was in a trade, guys. We're gonna get to that though in the other league. Trevor,
Cheeky has a little bit of a
PM here. Trevor, let us know which league that was in, okay? But yeah, Trevor made a trade for Jawan Johnson. He traded Jawan Johnson away. I'll just go ahead and tell you guys for he traded. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. He received Jawan Johnson, and I want to say it was $35 in fab for Rashid Shaheed.
Yeah, that looks terrible.
Can you believe that? How that played out?
We have a little bit of a clarity, if Cheeky is right, on the draft on the waiver order. Priority is based on draft order, with the team that drafted last having the best priority. If a team claims a player through waivers, they move to the end of the list.
Perfect.
That makes a little bit of a sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Correct. So.
It was the other league. Okay, so we'll just talk about it though. So Jawan Jennings went for $35, or Jawan Jennings $35 for Rashid Shaheed, which, I mean, in the long run, I guess if you look at a long run trade, I guess, you know, Jawan Jennings is maybe only valuable until Debo's back. You know, Rashid Shaheed looks like a part of that offense. So, you know, it could be a long-term value there for him, but I think he overpaid, number one, even before Jawan Jennings. And then now this whole situation with Jawan Jennings blowing up like he did, I don't think he's just going to disappear. So what do you think about that whole trade now, man, after the first game since that trade has been played?
Yeah, I've never been high on Shaheed anyway. I think I said that on the pod last week, is that he's going to be a boom or bust. And guess what he was this week? He was a bust. He was, you know, a 0.0, player out here. He's going to be that moving forward. He's not going to be a guillotine player. He's going to be a guy that you want in best ball a lot, which most of those have drafted already. So, but he's going to be a touchdown dependent, long pass dependent player that you don't want in guillotine. He's going to be Gabe Davis. I said it last week, Gabe Davis 2.0. I hit it right on the dot, because this is exactly what Gabe Davis did all of last year. And if you had him in Gabe Davis in any guillotine league, you were pissed off at Gabe Davis every week that he didn't score. So,
yeah. I know. I had a lot of Gabe Davis shares too, and it bit me. So I'm definitely not gonna defend him at this point. So, all right. So let's move into the team.
Hold on. We got a quote from our first player eliminated in guillotine, and this is exactly why you shouldn't have Rashid Shaheed, is because the guy that got eliminated week 1 loves him. There we go.
You feel better now?
No.
Does that make you feel good there, Connor?
I had to hate on Trevor a little bit. He had it coming. He was talking about running backs and stuff.
I mean, the guy is a Cowboys fan, dude. Hasn't he been stepped on enough?
This week, definitely.
Oh, man. So the team that got knocked out in this league, as Connor had mentioned, it's B. Bennett, RBS. I'm sorry, my friend. You are out of here. So let's look at his squad and again, what happened.
The rosters that are just getting better and better. I mean, all of these guys are, top tier players, I feel like.
Yep. You're going to have this guy's right here is probably going to go for a really solid amount of money, guys. So this is going to be a really fun one to pick up. And then not only him, but you got Achane right there behind him, Devontae right there. Yep. I know Devontae got hurt, but it's concussion, so it doesn't mean that's long term. We don't know. But he's got Andrews again back on the wire. Like, we're gonna have to deal with that. And then T. Higgins came back. He looked like he was getting his footing towards the end of that game. So, there's a lot of good players. Braylon Allen was looking solid.
Exactly. You got Kmet down there that's looking solid. You got Justin Herbert, who in the other league went for $66 or something. And so It's not like he has any scrubs, but it's just unlucky week. I mean, you didn't have anybody that boomed. You had a couple people that busted that, and again, it's 70 points. Like 70 points in any other league so far has, pushed you through pretty comfortably. Just didn't work out for you this week because a lot of people had players like Jawan Jennings or, Jamar Chase or Saquon or somebody that boomed. You just had a lot of average.
You would have played had you not picked up Mark Andrews and Cole Kmet.
Exactly. He would have played Cole Kmet. He would have been fine. He'd have been sitting at, 95 points, sitting pretty. But instead he's sitting at 69. And like Trevor said, that lineup looks insane. Exactly. I mean, I think this is going to be the week that everybody, loses a majority of their fab.
In this one, yeah.
This
one's going to be a bit war.
This is one of those rosters you're like, thank you for losing, thank you for not, barely squeaking by. Because you never know.
You're watching a guillotine league. If you're safe, you're watching the teams that are on the bottom, and you're rooting against whoever has the best roster so that you have the best players available to pick up. So it's no hate on you, B. Bennett, but this is exactly what we were hoping for would happen watching this league play out, because we wanted this roster available.
100%. And you're just like, please do not squeak by, because if this team squeaks by, you never know when you're going to get a shot at these guys again, because it's just such a great roster, honestly. I feel pretty bad for him, because you're sitting there with Breece Hall, you're sitting there with Devon Achane.
You felt so bad that you wanted to make sure to bring up how much he spent on Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I mean, it just sucks for him. Honestly, he's sitting pretty. He really didn't even need to spend the money on Mark Andrews, and then he just goes out there and wastes it.
Oh man! So, all right, B. Bennett. I'm sorry, my friend. Again, same thing. I hope you stick around and enjoy the rest of the season. It's going to be a fun one. So moving into the next league, this is one that really hurts my heart to talk about.
Why does it hurt your heart, Sean? Why?
Because, this not only is this our most expensive league, but, this is the one Trevor got knocked out of already. So I was really excited to take the reins, to just move forward with this team. And then the week of doom came. And if you hadn't noticed earlier, I am wearing a giant shit emoji costume, because that is what happened to my team in this league. Let's start the melee.
I think the people in this league are saying the football gods are undefeated, is what they're saying in this league.
Yes, I definitely did take a bit of a hit on this one. It hurts. It hurts my heart. It hurts my soul. This is the league I wanted to win, just to rub it in Trevor's face every single week. But now I don't get to. Now I got to get, sit here and manage a league that I don't even get to play in anymore.
Now, both of our commissioners are out. We got to make sure they're up to date every week.
Right. Now you guys got to keep an eye on us. Make sure that we focus on this league. Otherwise, you're going to be leaving you guys hanging.
Yeah.
So let's start with the highest scoring team before we get too much into my misery.
Yeah, I think Chiefs Life took it right there.
Yep. Looks like Chiefs Life was our highest in this league at 150, and I believe that is the highest of all three leagues.
Yeah, I think the other one's like 142 or whatever.
You are the top team of the week across the board, my friend.
And what's crazy is
we'll C-Bomb is commissioned now. I like that.
Hey, at least I'll survive, but I don't want the commissioner curse. Don't give me the commissioner curse. What's crazy is this guy has Jalen Hurts, who we just saw on an eliminating team on the other roster, and he's on the highest scoring team this week in this roster. It's just crazy how good the other guy's roster was.
And he had Jalen Hurts, who didn't really score him all that great. He just, as far as the rest of his team, though, Juwan Jennings is his saving grace in that flex role at the 46 points right there.
But let's not look at the other guy's roster. That guy,
like, geez Louise.
The other guy got saved. He should not even be in the league.
I know this. So everybody knows 60.38 is the second lowest score to me. Okay. And it is literally less than a point.
Yeah. This guy well, the craziest part about this, I just want to get into this because I'm sure everybody in this league wants to get into this. The guy on the right didn't play a tight end. If he plays a tight end, he's safe no matter what anyway, because his tight ends go for 20 points. But this guy also has 167 unspent fab that he hasn't touched in 3 weeks. And he's squeaked by with 60 points every single week.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him. I'm a little disappointed in the fact that he hasn't been focusing on his team. I think we need to make sure that he's paying attention here. So I'm going to have to get on him along with Trevor to make sure that he at least starts a solid roster.
Yeah, but I mean what do we know? We're just fantasy players. Maybe it's his strategy. Maybe not giving him a tight end gives him a fantasy boost.
I mean, he's still alive. I guess I can't say anything else. I'm dead. So what can I me and Trevor, we both can't talk anymore. We're out. So what are we going to do, right?
The dude played no tight end 3 weeks in a row and made it through, and we're just sitting here. He might as well played Mark Andrews. What are we kidding?
This thing is hurting my neck. I got to pull it down, guys. I'm sorry. Can't have the poo on top of my dome. So all right. Good job, Chiefs Life. Let's move on. Let's go into the. We can wait on the team. We'll talk about the losing team here in a second. Let's just go back to the week fob first. Let's go to the bids, huh? How's that sound?
Sounds good. I don't remember what happened in this league. I don't think I bid very much in this league, if I remember correctly.
Well, yeah, this one there was not really like a superstar player in this one, if you remember correctly. So I think Ayuk was obviously was the highest guy that went that week. You know, he had guys like Cooper Kupp, AJ Brown, but they were hurt and nobody was going to bid a lot on him. So, you know,
Ayuk was going for a lot more than he probably should have, or maybe not, maybe around where he should have, but more than he would have if Debo and Kittle and CMC were healthy. And so people were expecting him to be a 40-point store. But
I mean, he only outbid him by $1. He bid the perfect amount.
I mean, perfect, exactly.
So, you know, and everybody was high up there too. There was a lot of bids that are up above $50. So it wasn't like he was the only one either. So, you know, nobody anticipated that Juwan James was going to come out there and become the superstar. So it is what it is, right? Next guy to go was George Pickens at 66. There was 4 bids on him. The next closest one was me with $22. So that's a pretty high overbid there, but you know, he's going to get the chance to bid on all my players now. So I can't complain, or I can't talk too much mess, right? But yeah, I think that's slightly overbidding on my opinion either way.
B. Bennett put out quite a bit of fab this week, 66, and then he has Jared Goff with the next one he bid at 47 too. And I think if I remember correctly,
look at that difference right there. I mean,
I think he overbid on both of them. Yeah, $32, and then what was the other one? $30-something, $40. So
yeah, it was. So he spent a good amount of fob on 2 guys that, I mean, at least they're both playing, right? But geez, that's a pretty solid amount of money there. And then the biggest steal in this one, in my opinion, man, $31 just because he's missing a few weeks is a steal, bro.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, he definitely went for, not as much as he should have if he was healthy.
No.
But
this is one where I was mad at myself for not just flipping those 2 digits right around there and bidding $32.
This is one of the ones I was like, wow, I didn't place a bid. I don't think I've placed any bids in this week.
Yeah, I bid low knowing that same thing. I didn't think he'd go high, and I didn't want to outbid on him, so I bid what I thought I would get him for. But man, I was off by that much. I'm a little butthurt about it. Yeah, that is a steal of a deal. Good job, Throw Kill.
So, if he play, I mean, you never know, because I mean, he might not play another 2 weeks or so. I don't know what the word is. I know he's not on IR, so he's definitely coming back here.
So with extreme experience in there, and now that I'm knocked out and extreme experience is still in, he's got another week to be saved. So.
Yeah, that's what everybody's thought so far. We're like, extreme experiences. Thank you for giving us your week 1, and then wait, somebody else scores 38 and he scores 42, and you're thank you for week 2, and then somebody scores 54 and he scores 55, and then.
Right. It totally does make that whole preseason hoopla about the trade that I made with him seem a little bit different now, doesn't it? Yeah. When I'm like completely sitting at home on my
he's still, like I said, he's still sitting on, basically double his fob. He's sitting on 267 FA fob. So
right. Oh man. So Aljuan took the next guy with Carson Steele at $30. So you can see, like, as he went along, he just got higher and higher in each league. There was 3 bids on him. There was 9, 6, and then 30. So that was definitely an overbid in that scenario. But you could see that based on the other league, I really wouldn't consider it too much of an overbid. He went for 23. $25 for Cooper Kupp, who is on IR. That's I don't feel like that's too bad to go ahead and commit that much to him. You can throw him on your IR spot, like you said. 25 kill your squad. So, and
he dropped somebody already on IR too, so it's not like he's giving up even a roster spot. He's switching out anyway. So
so it's not a bad move there. Another steal here with Dallas Goedert, $15, got double the amount of points in his fantasy team this week. Only outbid him by $9, so not terrible. Next guy to go is Chuba Hubbard, $15, same thing, scored double his fantasy points. Next bid was $41 for B. Bennett, but he couldn't do it because he already spent $41 on somebody else. That is unbelievably high bid for a Chuba Hubbard. He must have really needed a running back this week.
Like I said, he was throwing out money in this league because he won 2 of the bids previously that were
Well, let's look at let's look at his roster just real quick, since he's the one that threw that bid out there, and see, was he dying for a back this week?
I mean, not really.
No.
Singletary,
Singletary and
Connor, Pickens, he won. I mean, I guess he won Pickens and he won Goff.
Yeah, I guess he did need like some sort of a bench, like a flex player, because he didn't have a lot of flex guys available to him. I think he's got guys on IR too because his bench is looking short. But that's probably
he lost Tua as well, so that's why he bid on Goff. So, but he's definitely down on that fob. I bet he's below $100 or so. Now.
He's gonna have to trade away some players for some fob if he wants to get back into the bidding.
Yeah, he should trade away Tyreek Hill on $67 or something.
Well, he'll be available to bid on. So you got Bryce Young going for $7. That he's on the bench now, so I don't even really think that's worth talking about. Cole Kmet only went for $7, which that was
no. No, he got dropped. Cole Kmet got dropped.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Cole Kmet got dropped for Hunter Henry for $7. What are you doing about that?
Well, I mean Hunter Henry
was killing it. I guess it makes sense. But man, I would have picked a different guy to drop, I think, unless you just had no other options. But
okay, can we?
I would have hoped somebody outbid me.
wait. Can we please look at this? My guy, go back to that. I didn't even notice this now, but Extreme Experience bid $0 on this tight end, and he had 2 tight ends on his roster, and he still didn't play one. He bid on he basically could have played 3 different tight ends this week, all on his bench. And
that's great. That is so great. Well, here's Tutu Atwell going for $1. Then you had some guys that were just picked up off the wire. Noah Fant picked up. Kareem Hunt was picked up. Gus Edwards and Tyler Conklin, which that was a solid pickup.
It was, but did he play him?
He never played him.
He didn't play him.
So prior to that, probably the pickup of the week was this one right here. Chiefs like Juwan Jennings for free. So good job on that one, man.
And then he trades them, right? Like this is the lead with the trade.
Oh, this very well could be.
I don't remember if it is or not.
Could be, actually.
No, I think it's below that, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. Let's look.
Because I think he picks them up and then trades them.
I think you are 100% correct. It might be this league. No, it's not this league because Trevor was already out of this league and he made the trade.
Oh, so it's in the first league. We didn't even go over it.
We went into, yeah. Sorry about that, Trevor. I thought it was the second league, so that was my fault. But anyways, let's move into another thing that's my fault is me getting my fucking ass beat today. 59.60. Do you see how damn close I was, ladies and gentlemen? 59.60 to the guy who didn't even play a tight end, got 60 point. What did he get? 60.38. 60.38. You believe that, guys? That's how close I was. And it was in the middle of the third quarter when Eckler got it. He got his touchdown early in the game. I'm like, I'm golden, baby. I'm good to go. I just need another point out of him. 1 catch. 10 yards of running.
What's crazy is he took the punt almost completely back. I mean, he took it to the 25-yard line.
I was like, dude, if he breaks that last tackle, then that's 6 points.
Exactly, you would have fine. And then he plays one more play, gets like 1 yard, and gets a concussion, and then he's out. It's like, oh my god, like what a bad beat, honestly. Because I was like talking trash to the dude that didn't play a tight end. Because I mean, most people are upset when people don't, pay attention to their rosters. Diehards, like us, are talking about, fantasy all day and night. And then, we see somebody with a decent roster and like, hey, look at your stuff.
Right.
And so,
because everybody wanted me to get knocked out so they can get my players.
Yeah, your players are trash. Freaking.
What are you talking about? So here's the lineup that's going to be available for everybody in this league next week. You bastards. So, you're going to have CJ Stroud, Devon Achane, Eckler, Dobbs, Hill, Laporta, Akers. I just obviously only played this week. And then you're going to have Jaden Daniels available, DeAndre Hopkins, Keenan Allen, Tucker Kraft, and then I also have Jonathan Brooks on my bench, if I'm not mistaken, in my IR.
I wouldn't doubt it since you were big on Jonathan Brooks and like, oh, he's going to score a lot week 1. And then.
So that's the roster that you're looking at. I mean, obviously, I think Achane and Stroud are going to be your 2 top bidders along with Hill.
I mean, I think Daniels might go for more than Stroud, or might. I don't know. Maybe right around the same. Daniels has looked very strong.
Daniels after
very
this week,
strong.
Yeah, after this week for sure. And then you've got Laporta, who's still going to probably get some money out. Tyreek Hill's going to get paid, or we're going to pay for him. DeAndre Hopkins had a good week. He might start seeing a little love. It's going to be a decent bidding day. I don't think it'll be as good as that other squad, but it'll definitely be a decent bidding day.
Yeah.
Bidding.
The roster isn't terrible. It's just, like I said, no booms on the roster. You left your boom on the bench. Fantasy guys are undefeated, and so
this was it right here.
Daniel, you play Daniels, you're basically safe,
Yeah. Well, if I play Hopkins over Dobbs too, I'm good, which I actually had going, and then at the last minute in the morning on Sunday morning, I switched it out, which I need to stop doing. Guys, if you set your lineups and you're solid with it, don't do like I do and wake up in the morning on Sunday, hour and a half before football, anxious, and then go in there and change your rosters. Yeah. Unless it's an injury, don't fuck with it. Just stick with your guns, man, because it always ends up screwing me.
It does. Fantasy gods are undefeated. It'll come back to you. You make a bad trade, you screw somebody over, it'll come back and bite you.
I also switched at the last minute on Sunday morning. I switched my last man standing from Monday to Sunday's game, and I took the Bucks over the Broncos. So I lost on Sunday on that game. Now, granted, I would have taken the Bengals. That's who I had set prior was the Bengals. So, but that would have gave me all of Sunday night to think about switching to the Bills. So you never know, right? But I didn't give myself that opportunity because of stupid Sunday morning. Either don't wake up early or just, don't screw with your fantasy lineup. One of the two. Oh man. So that's basically everything that we got today on our guillotine. Is there anything you want to talk about, Trevor, that we could go over that was a little bit interesting? Trevor, I'm sorry, Connor, that we could go over that was a little bit more interesting. I'm reading the comments by Trevor over here.
Yeah, no, I think I think we hit it all. I think we're gonna, like I said in the beginning before we started even touching on the teams, we're gonna start seeing some good teams getting eliminated. We saw two very good rosters, yours and then the team we saw right before that were teams that you would expect to make it way further than week 3. They didn't even have that bad of weeks. I think he scored 70 something points and he got eliminated. So the people in that league are going to have to, try to find, advantages places they can, because that league looks to be on a different level than either of the other ones by roster, just by average scoring and stuff. I didn't know if you wanted to touch on. I know we're hitting the hour 15 mark here, but I didn't know if you want to touch on like the highest scoring teams out of those leagues or anything, like through the first 3 weeks or anything like that, or.
We can get into that next week. Let's set that up for next week so that we get one more week's worth of scoring. We'll do a whole quarter. That way we can say whoever's going to do the first quarter of the season, like our top scoring teams. And we'll wrap it up through all 3 leagues and stuff like that. That's a good idea. We can knock that out next week. So I like that thought. But I'm definitely with you, man. I think that the leagues are getting more competitive. As you see, there's going to be some guys next week on the wire that you're going to start seeing some teams out there that are just super solid, and you're not going to be able to sneak by without starting a tight end or doing your due diligence. So you better start paying attention. I'm talking to you, Extreme. If you get in there and start bidding on these guys and get moving on it, because you're going to fall behind and you're not going to survive another week if you don't get ahead of the game.
Yeah, so. Ballsville's for diehards. So if you're not a diehard, you can take your home leads and go play in your home leads. But if you want to be in Ballsville, you want to be in guillotine leads, you have to be paying attention every week. You got to be setting your roster, dropping some FFAB. You got to be bidding on these players. You can't be just hoping to squeak by with a 60-point performance every week. Fantasy gods will get you. Like I said, fantasy gods will get you.
Yep, 100%. At least make sure you got all your players in. All right, that's minimum. Do that minimum. If you don't bid and you don't spend your FOB, that's on you. But make sure you got a starting roster set. All right.
Easiest part of the job, right? Easiest part of the job.
All right. Takes 2 seconds. All right. So we'll wrap things up then. I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll be back next week with another guillotine pod. Hopefully I won't be having to wear this poop emoji costume, because I won't have to worry about getting knocked out of it.
2 more.
So
you got 2 more.
Fingers crossed I have a good week next week and we can move forward with nice, happy, fun pod. All right. So thanks again for joining us, guys. Y'all have a good night out there.
Later.
That's a wrap.